Welcome to the glorious Red Bull Ring in summer sunshine. How close would you like your racing to be? Well, the ADAC GT Masters Championship. We've had 5 races so far, 5 different winners. And qualifying for this, the second race here at the Red Bull Ring, the top 19 cars covered by less than a second from the pole starting number 63 Lamborghini. And you can have 26, the top 28 cars. We have 28 cars starting within a second and a half of that pole time. It's super tight. We have 1 hour of racing with a driver change around mid-distance here at the Red Bull Ring. No wonder Herman Tomczyk and all the top brass of the ADAC are so delighted with this championship as it continues to grow and grow. And what a setting, the Red Bull Ring, just so spectacular, nestling in the mountainside here in Austria, just up the valley from where the first ever Austrian Grand Prix was held back in 1964 on the Zeltweg airfield. But this is far more exciting. This is the track that was created as the Österreich Ring, became the A1 Ring when it was reinvented, and for years has been the Red Bull Ring. And now, looking at those buildings in the background, I can assure you they are some of the best pit buildings and grandstands in the world. And that's when you're looking at the track, because of course with that mountainside in the background and the track rising and falling from many vantage points, including this one here at the first corner, you can see a great deal of the circuit. We should have had 29 cars. We lost one yesterday. The Schutz Motorsport Porsche put into the start of the pit wall. So for Alex McDowell and Klaus Bachler, there will be no race today on Sunday, meaning we're down to 5 Austrian drivers in the race. And the one who's been gathering the headlines is Lucas Auer. 20-year-old, leads the DTM Championship after 4 races, and that is his car. The number 26 Muka Mercedes was right in the mix yesterday and came home just off the podium in 4th place. It was the story of the Corvettes, though. The Callaway Corvette, we just passed with the Valvoline livery, took victory, chased home by the RWT Racing example, number 13. There it is, very strong indeed. And the drivers who started yesterday's race will start second today. They will be the ones that take over after the driver change. So what I can tell you is pole position will be started, the 63 Lamborghini by Christian Engelhardt. But let's just ride down alongside the grid, about mid-grid there. That's the better place to the 2 HB Racing Lamborghinis. Muka Motorsport, Audi. Then a car that was right at the sharp end, the 99 Porsche, the Preckert Herbert Porsche, been so strong all year. Drive-through penalty dropped them down the order out of the top 10. Yako Racing Audi looking great in the green. The one and only Nissan GTR in the race. Second of the Zakspeed. Mercedes there, the twin Busch Motorsport Audi. Fantastic livery on that car. Bright at any time of day. And then 2 cars entered by Audi Sport Racing Academy. Down towards the tail end of the grid. There they are, side by side. 2 BMWs in the race. The number 11 is from Senkia Motorsport. And the last 2 cars on the grid. The number 18 Bernard Porsche and the 66 Attempto Racing Lamborghini, which Emil Lindholm will start. There's a message the drivers all recognise. Drivers, start your engine. They're waiting, as are the fans, for the roar of those engines when that board is held up. The grid is now clear. The last few mechanics moving away, and the rumble of sound that will fill the area between the pit buildings and the giant grandstand opposite. Cars starting to roar into life. It's Lamborghini on pole from Mercedes, another Mercedes, then a Porsche. Great mix of cars at the front, but a car you really have to watch out for is Philipp Eng, one of the 5 Austrian drivers in this race, starting 5th on the grid. So Lucas Auer, fellow Austrian, will be starting 6th. Eng will be 5th. You have to go down to the 10th row to find Norbert Siedler, but he will make progress, I'm sure, in the black and pink Lamborghini number 7. Then the penultimate row of the grid, Christopher Herr, one of those 2 Audi Sport Racing Academy Audis, and young Michael Fischer in the Senkia Motorsport BMW. That was the white one we saw at the tail of the grid. The first few cars now starting to go out around the lap. 1 hour of racing, 28 cars here in the glorious early summer sunshine at the Red Bull Ring. Feast your eyes on the variety of chassis manufacturers, the variety of racing liveries, and they could not look better than they are in this early afternoon sunshine. The race is due to start at just after 1:15. And Maxi Götz, who was so strong yesterday, he is talking his way around the parade lap. He's in that second place Mercedes, the black and white one from HTP Motorsport, sharing that with Patrick Assenheimer. The bright green GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini's on pole here, number 63, and that's very fitting because the team is based, Gottfried Grasser's team, based just down the slope in Nittelfeld. So that too has a local involvement. One other driver could be claimed if he does well as half Austrian at least, simply by the fact he lives in Vienna, and that's Mirko Bortolossi in the other bright green Lamborghini, but he's starting down towards mid-grid, down on the 5th row actually, 9th place overall, but he and his teammate Perez Kompank have been very strong. So there's the second row of the grid. Watch out for Philipp Eng. Here are the 2 Austrians at the front end, Eng and Asch on row 3. Gunon and Kylvitz starting the race from 8th position. They were yesterday's winners. Watch out for Bortolotti. He's the driver who lives in Vienna, Italian by birth. And Marvin Hecklender, very strong indeed yesterday in the RWT Racing Corvette. A real breakthrough weekend for him here at the Red Bull Ring. So the cars coming out of the long and tricky Rauch curve, entering the Pirelli curve there. Lights flashing on top of the roof of the Audi pace car, leading them round. Last few rows of the grid coming up now. One and only female race in a race, Michaela Arlin Kochelinski, in one of the two Audi Sport Racing Academy entries. Penultimate row, and there is the final row, Christopher Friedrich and Emil Lindholm in the Attempter Racing Lamborghini. We tend to have two formation laps. That looks to be the case again today because the car's far too strung out for a rolling start at the end of this formation lap. On lap number 2, they will start to come together side by side. Now they're getting into side-by-side formation. We've got to look for the lights on the roof of the pace car leading them around. The Audi R8. Now they're side-by-side. And if those lights suddenly go out, we'll only be getting the one racing lap. He's left it quite late. I think we're going... No, they're looking as though they're ready to play. Round through the Rindt curve. Great corner. Where is it? Tucks away. And the late pull-in. So we have 28 cars, 14 rows, side-by-side, coming down the slope from the Rindt curve to the Red Bull Mobile curve, the final corner. In the bowl on the inside is the Lamborghini. It's a very pronounced bowl. In racing, true racing fashion, they'd be on the outside if they could, but 2 by 2 they have to be. All the red lights are on the starting gantry. The second of the two ADAC GT Masters races about to be underway. Who's going to make the best start? One of the HB Lamborghinis blasts up the middle, and up the front it's the Lamborghini of the pole starter, Christian Engelhardt, who claims pole position. Maxi Goetz taking the inside line in his Mercedes, bags at second place, but the real gain was up from 6th by Sebastian Asch in the 26 Mercedes, up into 3rd. The pink Mercedes from Muka Motorsport. That was a really good start. Philipp Eng on the grass. He seems to have lost a position or two. He started 5th, down to about 7th in the BMW, up towards the front end. Remus Curve, a scene of so many incidents and accidents over the past day and a half, but the drivers in the ADAC GT Masters seems better than some of the junior boys because they keep their cars away from each other. But what an opening half lap from Christian Engelhardt. Really nailed it from that rolling start from pole position, was on the correct line, the line you want to be to take that first corner without trouble. Bunching up in about 6th place, and the Koos Team Bernhardt, number 17 Porsche, has lost several places, down to about 6th, I think, for Michael Ammermuller. Looks as though Luca Ludwig is in about 4th place. Everyone behaving very well through the first handful of corners, down the slope through the Pirelli curve. Now moving into the first Alpine swerve. And the Manfield, the brightest car in the field, the bright yellow and green Mercedes right in the thick of the mix there, ahead of the second of the two Lamborghinis. That's the 19 with Mirko Bortolossi coming under some pressure from one of the Muka Motorsport Audis in the background. All getting a little bit feisty. And the 99 Porsche right in that mix as well. So some people gained on the first lap. The first two cars starting to make a break. It's Christian Engelhardt and two others going very close to the pit wall. That looks like the yesterday's race-winning Callaway Corvette gaining a position, going past Michael Ammermuller there. So Ammermuller back down into 7th place as Daniel Kalvitz powers his way past. And can I just point out, at this very early stage in the race, Daniel Kalvitz now has 5 ADAC GT Masters wins here at the Red Bull Ring. 2 in 2013, 2 in 2014, the most recent yesterday afternoon. Bad first lap from Philipp Eng. He got put on the grass on the kink as they ran up towards Remus. Now he's fighting back, but he's on the grass again as he goes shoulder to shoulder with Michael Ammermuller's Porsche. Ooh, a little swerve from each of them towards each other, certainly being very rough and tough as they fight over 7th and 8th positions. 7th is the one that Eng wants in that BMW. Don't forget he started 5th. Loses a bit of ground. Ammermuller dives up the inside. We've got 4 camera cars today, and that is looking through the windscreen of Philipp Eng's car. I think we might just stay with this one for a while. It's going to be really entertaining. He's got Michael Ammermuller up ahead and being pushed very hard by Christopher Mies in that number 1 Audi from Land Motorsport, right in behind him, but fleetingly alongside as they went out of the Rauch curve and down towards the Pirellis. But for now, Ammermuller in that Porsche holds off Philipp Eng as they go over the slight incline, and they're just coming up to the point where they're going to reach the drop down to Rindt curve, and that really falls away on the exit. Of course, the television sort of slightly foreshortens, but a driver on a real charge is Daniel Kalvitz. You can see he's in 6th position there, but he is right on the tail of number 3 of Kelvin van der Linde, who had such a good opening lap, but it just powered past him on the start-finish straight. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the pace of the Corvette, so much grunt, and Kalvitz clearly got a very good exit from the final corner of the lap. So he was 7th, then he was 6th, now he's 5th. The next target for him is Luca Ludwig in that Zack Speed Mobile liveried AMG Mercedes up ahead. braking hard as they go up the hill, sloping into the corner. They still carry on rising on the exit, and then out of Rima's curve they start to drop down the slope a little bit. But the driver making the attack in the early laps of the race is most notably not the race leader. He's got a 7/10 of a second advantage, but it is Daniel Karwitz, yesterday's winner. Now let's see if the other Corvette can make its way forward. Looking backwards at 13 there, that's Hacklander. Looking back from the 99, which is the Prekut Herbert Porsche that could have been at the front, should have been at the front yesterday, but that drive-through penalty dropped it down the order. So two cars with front-running pace, the 99 Porsche and that 13 Corvette in the thick of the action. So it's a rear view from the 99 Porsche. Great sights around the circuit. Oh, and that Porsche cutting it a little too fine on the exit of the swerves. Didn't quite turn in sufficiently. Would have lost a little bit of momentum there, allowing number 13 with Hecklander to close in a little bit, and that's exactly what Maxi Hecklander would want. Into the bowl on the inside of the final corner. Now what we're seeing is that Christian Engelhardt is starting to stretch his legs, gains 0.3 of a second over Maxi Götz in that battle for the lead. Then there's a gap of nearly 1.4 seconds back to Sebastian Asch in the third place Mercedes, but Philipp Eng, is he gaining? He's trying his hardest, but he's still down in 8th place, still can't do anything about Michael Ammermuller. But Daniel Karwitz, boy, how quickly did he catch up with the 4th place Luca Ludwig. Ludwig's on the inside line, but tucking around, and look at the grunt out of Remus curve for yesterday's race winner. Daniel Karwitz fancies making a move, but he's going to have to go the long way round up the high side, which you really start to run out of options. His nose is ahead as they dive down already before they get to Rauch curve, but I don't expect the Zach Speed Mercedes driver Luca Ludwig to back off at all. In fact, his father wouldn't allow him. Klaus Ludwig, such enormous spread of race wins over decades in all the various German championships, and now Luca doing his utmost to make his father proud. But it looks though Karwitz has got the speed. Has he been able to tuck in? Not quite, as they get to the second part of the Pirelli curves. So Karwitz stays in 5th, but looking at the speed, the way he can close back in and get his nose alongside from time to time around the lap, you really feel that Luca Ludwig's time in 4th place is numbered. It is allowing Kelvin van der Linde to close in all over again after that strong start, up from 10th to fleetingly up to 5th. Now he's in 6th. Can he hang on to this battle? Meanwhile, up front, it looks as it's a better lap from Maxi Götz. Yes, he's taken, just waiting for the intervals. Oh, within a few hundredths of an identical time to Philipp Eng. 1 second between the pair. Then a further 1.4 seconds back to Sebastian Asch. So Lucas Auer, the hometown hero, well, the home country hero, is waiting to take over that 26 Mercedes, the pink one there, the 3rd car in the run. That is sort of running on its own because there's a gap of another 1.5 seconds or so back to Luca Ludwig, and you can see how Luca is now backing up the rest of the field as he resists. Well, there's a mistake. Is that from the 99 car? Running wide off the circuit. Yes, he has. So he should have lost a position to the 13. Yeah, the 13 Corvette trying to go up the inside, and all along Marco Mappelli in the HB Racing Lamborghini trying to keep the two of them behind. But places are changing, or nearly changing, almost in every corner. Now, that's really unfortunate for Sven Muller. Edged wide, dips 2 wheels on the dirt on the outside of the Rauch curve, had to come off the power a little bit. Suddenly he's got Kelvin van der Linde all over him, but unfortunately for him, Maximilian Hecklander needed no further invitation, and he has followed his way past poor old Sven Muller there, the multiple Porsche Super Cup champion. Let's take a look at the replay of the start. Great start from the poleman. Christian Engelhardt had his Lamborghini already in a position far enough ahead to move ahead of Maxi Götz, move across in his path. Maxi Götz is now on a very defensive line up the inside. And look, pretty much everybody else behaved, almost all stayed between the white lines. Now let's experience it from Sebastian Asch's point of view. Nearly clips the back of the Mercedes. And then Philipp Eng was right in the mix as well. But Philipp lost out when he got up to the first corner. Michael Ammermuller lost a bit of ground, and they were really, really bunching up. Several of them running wide there. And then Philipp Eng, if we wait long enough, we'll see him bouncing on the grass up the other side. Now we're riding with Mirko Bortolotti here on this replay at the start. This is from 9th on the grid. Not a good start. You can see the cars getting smaller rather than larger up ahead of him. You can see how they're moving around for position, about 4 abreast. And you can Kelvin van der Linde in the black and red Audi. What a start for him, followed through by one of the Land Motorsports cars. That'd be Christopher Mies in number 1. So winners and losers, but overall the result that was the one that the GRT Grasser Racing team wanted, and that is the car that is leading wasn't troubled. And now we have 5 laps on the board, halfway round the 6th, 1.1 seconds clear. Christian Engelhardt ahead of Maxi Götz. Now trying the outside route to wrest fourth place from Luka Ludwig. Will that be outside? Comes to inside? No, yet again. He's had to tuck in behind, but he's now got company because Philipp Eng is on the move. He too has deposed Michael Ammermuller. Eng riding on board with the Austrian racer now as he tries to get closer and closer out of the first Alpine S behind the far end of the paddock, and then down to Rindt Curve he goes in that BMW, tucking in behind the tail of yesterday's race-winning Corvette. Karvitz, a little bit of a twitch from Karvitz, got closer than he wanted to the car ahead. Luka Ludwig manages to plant the power and pull away again, but they're starting to drop away from that third place Mercedes of Sebastian Asch, which is good news for Lucas Auer. Here is that battle, 4th, 5th and 6th with the Corvette in the middle. But right now, the driver making the moves is Philipp Eng. He's finding the sweet spot. Kelvin van der Linde doing all he can to tuck in behind. Let's ride up the slope. This is the point coming up where Philipp put the wheels on the grass on the right-hand side of the circuit in the opening lap. This time he's staying on the black stuff as he watches Karvitz again look to the outside. Getting closer, closer, closer. You always get this concertina effect when you look at the action at Remus Curve because it's such a heavy braking corner. We've got a car in the pits, number 2, must have a puncture. Yes, driver's rear left, so that is very bad news. Indeed, the number 2 Audi started with Christopher Haas at the wheel. He's still on board, started from the 7th row. That has dropped it very much to the tail of the field. We had a whole handful of punctures yesterday, some from body contact, some from hitting debris on the circuit. Let's hope we don't get any more today. Unlucky for Christopher Haas. Now Philipp Eng is showing just how excited he is. Well, we can look at him from the outside and see his view, or the view from alongside him in the cockpit as they go down into the dip. Now they come through the swerve, the first Alpine curve. And this time Karvitz not close enough to make a challenge. So Luka Ludwig doing a great job to weather the storm, no doubt helped by the fact that the Corvette driver is being challenged by Eng from behind, so he can't put all his focus on the Mercedes ahead. But all along as this battle goes on, the 3 cars ahead of them, Christian Engelhardt, Maxi Goetz and Sebastian Asch are pulling ever further clear. It's almost 2 seconds from Asch back to Ludwig now. In fact, it's 2.7 seconds back. Philipp Eng could not get any closer to the Corvette ahead of him through the first corner than if he climbed into the boot. In fact, that's pretty much what he's trying to do. Kelvin van der Linde going very well in the number 3 Audi for Ost Motorsport. Good run for him. And don't forget, Kelvin has been racing in the ADAC GT Masters for a long while. Philipp Eng, now that was a mistake. Will he have lost position to van der Linde? He braked too late, went wide up at the top of the hill at turn 3. 2014, Kelvin van der Linde in that number 3 Audi was the GT Masters champion. And now we do get that place change, or do we? Certainly more momentum than he's had before. Round the outside went Karvitz, but he was given the cold shoulder through the corner, and that's turned 5th into 6th. And in the case of Philipp Eng, 6th into 5th, which isn't bad, bearing in mind that he got it wrong himself when he went up into Remus Curve. And all Kelvin van der Linde can do is sit behind and watch. This is Philipp Eng getting it wrong. No, sorry, that's these two coming side by side. And, oh, that was quite robust from Luka Ludwig, saying, well, you're alongside, but you're not coming back on the track. You've blown it by going a little bit wide. Let me give you a... Did they touch? Yes, they most certainly did. Well, we might just see if any further action is taken. But down in the pits, Jules Gounon not enjoying that at all. He'll be getting in the second half of the race. They took victory yesterday, but it's going to be a mountain to climb. Well, it would be at the Red Bull Ring for them to get towards the front of the field again, because those first 3 are pulling ever further clear. Christian Engelhardt nearly 2 seconds clear and stretching it ahead of Maxi Goetz in the 84 Mercedes. Roland Asch 2 seconds. Roland, I think not. Sebastian, son of Roland, 2 seconds further back in 3rd, and then 3 and a bit seconds back to this battle. And now Philipp Eng, he's a driver who doesn't take no for an answer, trying to go round the outside of Luka Ludwig, trying to do what the driver behind, the driver in that Corvette, Daniel Kalvitz, failed to do. He's going to have a look and see if Eng can make a move, and you never know, Eng might try up the inside, and that could force the Mercedes wise, and then you can be sure that both the BMW, well, he does go up towards the inside, doesn't quite work, and look how close the Corvette is behind. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant onboard camera. Looking back, that's Oiltech. Well, they get a nice little plug there as they nearly hit the back of the BMW, and Eng is very much focused on what's ahead, but you can be sure that Kalvitz is waiting to snap at any little slip up. He will dive in behind, and now finally they're starting to drop Kelvin van der Linde, a little bit of daylight back to the 7th place, number 3 Audi, who's got Michael Ammermuller tucked in behind him. And Mirko Bortolotti starting to make progress in the number 19 Lamborghini, and don't forget that was one of the winners earlier in this championship. Won the second of the two races last time out at the Lausitz ring, sharing with his co-driver from this weekend, Ezequiel Perez-Companc. They've been winning races in the Blancpain GT series as well. Here's a man who's seen it all, Charlie Lamb, so many years just making Schnitzer such a great team, and the BMW in the middle of that pack fighting over fourth place is his car, the one in the race, started by Philippe Eng, will be handing over to Ricky Collard, and it was a car that was good enough for third place behind the two Corvettes yesterday afternoon. And Kelvin van der Linde, I said he was losing a bit of ground. He's also now lost a place because Michael Ammermuller in the number 17 Porsche, just coming up the approach to Remus Curve, has got back ahead. So Ammermuller, who started fourth, fell to 8th, is now picking his way up the field again. This battle for fourth looks like it could run all the way up to when the pit window opens, which is in another 10 and a bit minutes. It's open when we have 35 minutes on the clock until we have only 25 minutes of the race remaining. And that, looking back from Philippe Eng's BMW, is about the biggest gap he's had to the Corvette behind, which must be all of 1.5, 2 car lengths behind as they drop down through the Pirelli curves. Mountains in the background as they look across the valley. Of course, they're not looking across the valley at all. They're looking at the apex of the next corner and the one beyond. And all along, the race leader, Christian Engelhardt, Maxi Goetz in second place, and Sebastian Asch in third, are pulling clear of this little trio. Can Michael Ammermuller close in from behind in number 17 Porsche? Doesn't look as though he can at the moment, and Luca Ludwig could be pretty pleased with this performance. Right, car number 21. Luca Ludwig, I mentioned his name. Black and white flag for pushing another car off the track, and we know which that car is. It's the car now in 6th place. It's Daniel Kylvitz. And car number 3, Kelvin van der Linde, suddenly losing a whole lot of ground. He's under investigation for leaving the track and taking advantage of doing so, but he's now limping into the pits. Can't see if he's picked up a puncture. Hasn't been indicated that Kelvin van der Linde, who ran so strongly, has been given a drive-through penalty. Hasn't come out the other end of the pit lane. Can't see the starting gantries in the way. Anyhow, let's just go back to this battle for 4th place. Still Luca Ludwig. And the car is accelerating away from the pit, so I presume it's the number 3 Audi about to blast up the hill, but 4th, 5th and 6th. Well, I could watch this all day, and in fact we may well do. Yes, the number 3 Audi is rejoining. And cars number 8 and 17 being given black and white flags, warning flags. One more and you're in trouble for disrespecting track limits. 17 is Michael Ammermuller, and number 8 is down towards the tail end of the field. That is Michaela Arlin-Kochelinski in one of the 2 Audi Sport Racing Academy cars. Now, the pace we saw from Daniel Kylvitz just seems to be dropping off the back of that little grouping for a moment. Maybe he's just letting everything cool down a bit, get a bit of air through the car, having been tucked up behind the Mercedes and the BMW for several laps. I mean, super close, tucked up behind. Sometimes it's better just to ease off that little bit and regather your senses, get a bit of life back in the car and attack again. But right now, with Philippe Eng falling slightly off the tail of, well, it's all comparative, of Luca Ludwig, it looks as though this battle is spreading out rather than closing in. 3.2 seconds between first and second place. So actually the last lap, the reason it went out was that Christian Engelhardt set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 28.661. And that's almost a tenth second faster than the best lap yesterday afternoon. So the team's getting super dialed in. Conditions very similar. Temperatures, in fact, nearly hit 50 degrees of track temperature before the start. They've dipped to 46, but it's still a hot afternoon out there. And it'll certainly be hot if you're Luca Ludwig. And again, he has to cover the inside. He'd rather let the car run to the outside around the long arcing right-hander, downhill right-hander. That is the Rauch curve, but he can't afford to leave a gap up the inside, because if anybody's going to grab it, actually getting too close to the inside, clouting the curb and being pushed wise, it's Philippe Eng. And now Philippe's lost a bit of momentum, which is why Daniel Kylvitz in yesterday's race-winning Corvette is able to tuck right back up all over again. So it's funny how a driver can make one little slip-up. Suddenly the pressure is on him, not on the driver that he'd been chasing for a while. So a comparative gap there for Luca Ludwig. Might be out to about half a second, you never know. But again, a really clean line through the final corner of the lap for the BMW racer. And Philippe Eng, well, he's going to be down to about 0.3 of a second behind. Let's have a little look. They cross the start-finish line. The time comes on the screen, 0.248 of a second, which translates into about less than a metre when they get up to the first corner of the lap. Michael Ammermuller now being pressured by Mirko Bortolotti in that number 19 Lamborghini, the green one there. And tucked on behind is Marvin Kirchhofer in the bright yellow and green Man Filter Mercedes in ninth place. I think there might have been contact there. It might have even put our camera upside down. Can't be entirely sure, but the back of the BMW got a clout there from the Callaway Corvette of Daniel Kalvitz. Luka Ludwig still holds on. This is the corner where they seem to like to try and challenge him. And again, it's up the inside the BMW tries to go. That now compromises its cornering line and should give Daniel Kalvitz a chance if he can get a clear exit to make a run. But then he will find himself on the outside line. Certainly no inside line left open for Kalvitz. Philipp Eng very, very wily indeed. Has cost himself some momentum though, so a bit of breathing space back to the fourth place driver, back to Luka Ludwig. Let's have a look. Was there a hit? Looking back from the BMW. That counts as a hit. And so the camera is now at a rather jaunty angle. And poor Jules Gounon just doesn't know where to look. He doesn't want damage at the front end of that car. Seems to have got away with it. But I think that's probably the last of the rear camera angles we will see from the BMW. Philipp Eng races on there. And while we can enjoy the Ludwig, Eng, Kalvitz battle, behind we've got Ammermuller, Bortolotti riding on board with Bortolotti, and then as we said in ninth place we've got Kirchhoff. Then there's a bit of a gap back to car number 99 who's completing the top 10, Sven Muller. Of course he lost out in the early laps. And we have one of the Land Motorsport Audis has retired to the pits. That's Christopher Mies. He's even parked it in the pit garage. The 13 Corvette is also in the pit lane at the moment. That was the car that finished second yesterday, so no repeat performance for them. That was started by Maxi Hacklender, but that is out for the afternoon, one presumes. That's still in the pit lane, bonnet up. Oh, and now Kalvitz is, as one Corvette's in trouble, Kalvitz has regained a position. He's managed to push Philipp Eng wide. It was always going to happen that if Eng left the door even slightly open in his attack, then he would be attacked himself. But Eng then got back around into the position again. So it just goes to show how these things can keep on changing. So Eng made that move, got the nose ahead, edged wide on the replay up at turn 3. The only line you can really sensibly attack on is on the outside. It takes a bit of complicity, but the trouble is you pay the price if you go on the outside line because the track starts to run away from you. Was there contact? I don't think there was, but Eng had to swerve, had to go out over the curbs. Then you had the little clatter up the back. But it's all settled down all over again. So it's still Luka Ludwig in fourth place. How far behind Sebastian Asch is he? 5.5 seconds. They've certainly helped the top 3 and hindered themselves. But Philipp Eng has shown great pace. Last time around he was the fastest of all in the first sector of the lap. And time and again we've seen him really be able to attack up the hill towards Remus. And clearly that's where the car is very strong. Up to the first corner and gets the power down well over the curbs. Well, hopefully on the black stuff rather than over the curbs, and on up the hill. Pleased to report no new messages on the screen, but those who've been given the flag for disrespecting track limits still out on the circuit still know who they are. Number 8 and number 17. 8 is Michaela Arlin Kochelinski. Number 17, as we know, is up at the front end. It's Michael Ammermuller. Ammermuller now being pushed very hard by Bortolotti. There is Ammermuller in the black and white Porsche Kuss written on the bonnet, but to receive a kuss from behind from Mirko Bortolotti in the Grasser Lamborghini. And all along enjoying the action up ahead, but there to profit from any broken pieces is the number 48 crew. It sounds like we've got another car coming to pit lane. Oh, good grief, it's not Land Motorsports afternoon. They've got both of their Audis parked straight into the pit garage. So I can't presume that what was the problem for one has become the problem for the other, but they're not being kept out in the pit lane. And you know what? They're not even having any work on them at the moment. So I can't tell you what is wrong with either of those. No messages saying they've been disqualified and asked to return to the garage, so mechanical problems, no doubt. So for 2 of the drivers, they don't get a race start this afternoon. Christopher Haas started number 2. Number 1 started by Christopher Mies, so Conor De Filippi won't get a run, and neither will Jeffrey Schmidt. We will have cars in the pits soon, and legitimately so, for those who are racing, because the pit window will be open very soon indeed. Next couple of minutes it will be open. Now, what would you do if you were running third in a group of 3 cars like the Callaway Corvette? Would you come in straight away or wait till the end? You'd have to say that the Corvette on pace appears to be being slightly delayed, as is Philipp Eng by Luka Ludwig. There, I think, was a little bit more body rubbing. If the BMW and the Corvette could get past this Mobile liveried Mercedes, they undoubtedly will pull away. So they should be frustrated, and they should, in theory, as soon as the pit window opens, come straight in. They can't afford to be delayed any further, because the top three pulling ever further clear. It's next closest thing to 5 seconds between race leader Christian Engelhardt in the 63 Lamborghini and Maxi Goertz in the 84 Mercedes, and then another 2.5 seconds or so back to Sebastian Ash. But then it's 5.7 seconds back to the rest, and of course the rest is still Luca Ludwig and everybody else in his wake. They're in the first of the 2 3-car battles on the start-finish line, and in the background you can see the second one between Ammermuller, Bortolotti and Kirchhofer. And there is that second battle. Ammermuller in the Porsche, Bortolotti quite a few wins under his belt in that Lamborghini this year, including one in the ADAC GT Masters last time out at the Lausitz Ring. And what we're seeing is Kirchhofer is just tucking in behind and getting closer and closer. And again, every time he can look at the inside, he'll look at the inside. We've seen Philipp Eng try the outside, not just there at the Remus curve, but other corners, but it's really not the place to be. Most effective moves go up the inside, but most effective failures also come with an inside move. When you dive, don't get enough braking done. Is it going to be contact? If there's not contact, it's as close as it could be through the Rauch curve. But it's the same result as before. The Mercedes getting a little bit out of line, but getting the power down sooner than the BMW. And all along, the Karlwitz Corvette tucked in behind. But he will be steaming, because we saw how in the early laps of the race, Karlwitz was doing what others weren't doing, and he was picking off the cars ahead of him, making his way forward. And hasn't been able to do so since. He's had his moments, but it hasn't come to anything. There was the third place Sebastian Ash Mercedes. There's the fourth place Mobile liveried Mercedes of Luca Ludwig. And looking down the order, not a great deal of overtaking, but a lot of close racing. That's the gap between first out of the picture. Now we've got Sebastian Ash coming in from third place. We've got Karlwitz coming in from sixth place. Ammermuller from seventh. So the first of the runners from the front end of the field come through, but Christian Engelhardt and Maxi Goertz in first and second have continued on their way. So now I thought the most track time possible would be given to the DTM championship leader, to Lucas Auer, who's come and made such impression almost every time he's got in this car. Learning to drive a GT car, he's proved he doesn't need to learn. He's got it already. He's been first or second, or certainly in the top 5 in terms of lap times, and he was very, very strong in the opening part of the race yesterday. A 1-hour race, lots of driver changes. Well, only one per car, obviously. But the cars have to be stationary for a minimum period of time, and any transgressions. This is the moment the BMW finally gets past. No, it isn't. For yet another lap, it's still position held on track by Luca Ludwig. Of course, they've lost the Corvette off their tail, because Karlwitz came in to hand over to Jules Gounon, and in some way that has added impetus to Philipp Eng, because he doesn't have to defend for any pressure from behind. He could focus on the 21 Mercedes up ahead of him. And here come the front-running pitters who have come out. So Michael Ammermuller has handed over to Mathieu Jaminet, and they started their season very well indeed by winning the first of the ADAC GT Masters races this year, 2 at each meeting, and they won the opening race at Oschersleben. Then Collard and Eng in their BMW won the second. Moving on to Lausitz Ring, it was Sven Muller and Robert Renauer. We've seen them in this race in the Herbert Porsche. Then the Bortolotti Perez Companc Lamborghini, not that one, but number 19. And then, of course, Gounon and Karlwitz won the first of the 2 races here yesterday. So that was a good, strong run for the Zach Speed Cruise. That's number 21. That was the one that Luca Ludwig drove with such robust form to hold on to that 4th place for so long, until he came into his stops. He's handing over to Luca Stolz. See how the conditions are absolutely fantastic here. The light glinting off the flanks of that Mercedes AMG. And I think they'll probably give him a pat on the back in the Zach Speed garage, because Luca Ludwig was very, very strong in the race there, coming under pressure from 2 cars that seem to have more speed and keeping them bottled up. But I'm not sure every panel on that car will be entirely straight. I think we've had a bit of side-to-side contact. Oh, and we've got 2 more drivers, 2 more cars that have been given black and white warning flags for disrespecting track limits. Number 22, 24. 24 was the BWT Muka Motorsports, the black and sort of grey and orange Muka Sport Audi for Markus Winkelhock, and number 22. Just trying to see where they both are outside the top 10. Winkelhock in 11th place, and 22 is Patrick Houseman, who didn't even get a run yesterday because his race was over. The car never made it back for him to take over from Remo Lips. That is in the number 22 Nissan from MRS GT Racing. So what we have after those pit stops is the fact that the Callaway Corvette team made a better job of it than the Zach Speed Mercedes team, because the order has been reversed. Of course, in fact, there were 2 positions difference. They were 6th and 4th, respectively, before the pit stops. Michael Ammermuller's car has been handed to Matteo Jaminet, hasn't lost a great deal of ground. Then comes 63, still hasn't made its pit stop. There is our race leader. Had a lead of 6 and a bit seconds last time around ahead of Maxi Goetz. We're nearly halfway through the pit window. Halfway around the lap for the number 63 race leader. But Christian Engelhardt letting it flow out over the curbs, keeping it clean. Of course, if you look at these cars, the Audi R8 LMS and the Lamborghini Huracan look very different, but under the skin, they're far more identical than you can imagine. But they perform differently according to their body shape as well. So is this 63 coming in? I'm not sure. I think Engelhardt will stay out until the latest moment he can before handing over to Rolfin Eichen, because of the duo, he's been the stronger this weekend. Maxi Goetz in the background, flashing his lights, just going under the KFZ Tyler 24 banner. Wants those back markers out of his way. Running in second place, 6.5 seconds down now. So he lost another a third of a second last time around. Philippe Eng in third in the BMW. Probably feeling a bit lost all on his own, having had company from the very start of the race. Always a battle to be had. Now he's got half the distance of the run up the hill from turn 1 up to Ramus at the top, without a car to be seen. And Ricky Collard, young British racer on the BMW Junior Motorsport books, are ready to take over. Patrick Assenheimer, likewise, waiting to get his run when he'll take over from Maxi Goetz in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes, still running in second place. Can he make up the 6.5 seconds? Is he the match of Rolfin Eichen, who'll take over the race-leading Lamborghini, or is he better? Let's find out. Sven Muller now up to 5th place, but of course he has yet to make the pit stop in the number 99 Porsche. Going past one of the Audi Sport Racing Academy's R8 LMSs, or not, as the case may be. Found himself on the outside line as they went into the Pirelli curve. And all you can see there, and this is our race leader. Is it 19 coming in? There should be number 63 coming to the pits, waiting for it to trigger the system. Yep, there it is. 0-1 on the windscreen. So Christian Engelhardt had a slightly longer share because it's a 1-hour race and he's coming with 28.5 minutes remaining. But Rolfin Eichen will take over. But Rolf would have to admit, so far this weekend, Christian has been the pick of the duo in this car. Rolf runs out. Both of them have helmets, matching bright green livery to the car. Rolf clonks his on the roll cage as he slides his way in. And as always, the driver who gets out is responsible for making sure the belts are fastened and tightened properly for the driver taking over. Now, will the 63, when everyone's made their pit stop, still be in the lead of the race? Don't forget, its advantage was 6.5 seconds or so. So certainly no need to make a rush in the pit lane. That is the way it's set up here. No need to just go too soon, otherwise you'll be called back in for a drive-through penalty, plus the extra time that you've failed to be at a standstill added to that. That should be absolutely fine for Rolfin Eichen. Up what I think we can safely say is the steepest pit exit in the world. TV camera angles, if you've never been to the Red Bull Ring, A, you should, and B, you wouldn't believe just how steep that climb is. I challenge you to walk up that pit lane towards the exit and not feel a little bit of heat in your calf muscles. So Christian Engelhardt, good to see him down in the pit garage. I think he's done a very, very good job. Made that very positive start from pole position. Maxi Goetz knew very early on the climb up towards the first corner that he wasn't going to be able to challenge, so he moved across into the wake, tucked in behind the 63 Lamborghini, and just made sure that he was safe in second place. And Maxi, as we speak, is just coming into the pit lane. There he is, number 84. Maxi handing over to Patrick Assenheimer. Already on the windscreen you can see the car's positional number starting to go up from 0-2 to a higher number as those behind who have yet to pit, including Philippe Eng, carry on along their way on the track, but they will be in very soon as well. We've got another minute and a half or so before the pit window closes, and the penalties for not getting in within that time are severe. Absolutely race chance ending. So Patrick Assenheimer waiting to go back out, being held there by the team official, counting it down. Is he going to do the little finger signals? Oh, side by side, but he had to go round another car in the pit lane, and then he's got slightly delayed, having to tuck in behind. It's behind the Nissan with those sort of yellowy gold reflective wings on the MRS GTR. Got a bit twitchy in front, but this could lose a second or so for Patrick Assenheimer. A little bit frustrating. In fact, he's only just come out ahead of the 26 Mercedes. There was a much bigger gap between them. Now, Lucas Auer has got several laps under his belt already. Patrick Assenheimer is going to have to get up to speed very, very soon indeed. This is the chance for Lucas Auer to take second place. Racing on home turf in Austria now. Can he use the Nissan to his advantage? The Nissan blocking the second place. Effectively second place. It says 06 and 07 on the windscreen, but when their rivals who have yet to pit have made their pit stops, pit window open only for another 25 seconds, they'll be back to second and third positions. But the Nissan is very much in their way. It's got to stay out wide, and Patrick Assenheimer he's got to tuck up to the left of that Nissan as they go to the Pirelli curves. Is there enough of a gap? He's left it late. He hasn't managed to do it, and Lucas Auer literally pushing him around the corner. And that is very tricky indeed, as Remo Lips is trying to keep out of the way, but he's sort of getting in the way, so it's very unfortunate indeed. And still, I thought the golden chance, we saw it in one of the previous races today, a driver coming out of the pits, having to get straight into the racing action alongside one who's got a lap or two under his belt, is up to speed. And let's have a look. This is, well, there's Philippe Eng coming in. Is that after the pit window? It says it's closed, but there was a contact with the Attempto Lamborghinis who were coming in. Well, the clock is saying 24:27. I'm waiting for a message on screen, but has Philippe Eng left it a lap too long to come in? Handing over to Ricky Collard. They finished third yesterday, but I think that they're in the pits too late. And still the Nissan is in front of Patrick Assenheimer, and still Lucas Auer hasn't managed to find a way past. I can't believe the Nissan hasn't just pulled out of the way. There must be some waving of blue flags. Well, you couldn't get more out of the way than that, so clearly the blue flags have been seen, have been heeded, and now 02 and 03 on their windscreens, as I said they would be once the others had come in to make their pit stops. Got to keep an eye on the screen to see if there's any message about whether that BMW came in too late. I can't believe with Charlie Lamb, so many decades of experience under his belt, the Schnitzer crew would have got it wrong. They must have just squeaked into pit entry. But in fact, their garage is down towards the end, so yes, that could tally with the clock reading around 24 minutes, 30 seconds remaining in the race. Had to be over 25 on the clock when it came in. Meanwhile, do you want to know how far behind the lead battle this second place battle is? Just having a little look. It is... I'll have to wait for the screens to settle down at the end of the lap, but it was quite a sizable gap beforehand. And the race leader is nowhere to be seen at the moment. Way clear, still listed as Christian Engelhardt on our screens, but we know full well that's not the case. He handed it over to Rolf Eichen, and 10.4 seconds is now the gap, just being confirmed as the 84 Mercedes crosses the start-finish line. So 11 seconds will cover the first three, but it's a gap of 10.5 seconds back to second place is the one that counts. With the clock already counting down, 22 and a bit minutes remaining. That is a lot for this duo of Mercedes to do in their chase. And for Assenheimer, he's got to work so super hard to resist Lucas Auer. Auer ended up yesterday in fourth place overall. Would love a podium finish here on home ground. One thing is for sure, we're not going to have a Callaway Corvette double because the 77 car with Jules Gounon is back in fourth place. Nearly 3 seconds down on these Mercedes. I quite fancy his chances to start closing in, because he's running on his own. He's got a 3-second advantage over Ricky Collard. I think Collard must be in the clear in that BMW for what I was worried might have been a pit stop infringement. No messages on the timing screens as yet to say that they were in too late. Gounon's going to be the next driver to have to get past that Nissan with Remo Lips on board. The Nissan that held up this duo of Mercedes for about a lap and a half before up at Remus he pulled not just off the racing line but off the circuit. In the background of the shot there you can see Lips stayed very gentlemanly over on the right hand side of the circuit, and on the run up over the crest of the hill down into the Rint curve I think we saw Ricky Collard moving past, so he's now got a clear line of attack to those Mercedes ahead. Yes, coming onto the start-finish straight, there is the BMW at the back of the pack. Second, third and fourth, Gounon in the Corvette starting to get a little bit closer to those fighting Mercedes, but no one getting closer to Rolf Eichen. He's sitting comfortably. Well, in fact, they closed very slightly last lap, but with 20 or so minutes remaining in this race, 21 minutes, doesn't look as though this duo will be able to haul him in. They might take tenth of a second off him here or there, but you'd have to say for the Grasser Lamborghini racing team from just down the slope in Knittelfeld, they've got a lot of fans and friends and family here this weekend. They could be celebrating a win that will really put a big smile on their faces. Oh, and there, as if from nowhere, suddenly we have a dive up the inside, but it doesn't quite work. But Lucas Auer shows he means business as they were approaching Rauch curve. Nothing tried, nothing gained. So Lucas Auer dived down the inside, hadn't got enough braking. Oh, big twitch, very nearly clipped the back of Patrick Assenheimer, who sort of left half a car's width gap up the inside, which was just too tempting for Lucas. But no damage done, he's got to do it all over again. Drive-through penalty for car number 66. That's the Lamborghini from Attempto Racing that started last. Pit lane, I think, violation. 66 right down towards the tail end of the field anyhow. Well, there's a replay. It was worth a try, and in fact Lucas Auer did very well to still get the car turned enough to the left to get it into the corner, and now he's got it back into second place. The last time he had second place it lasted about 2 seconds. This time it looks so it could be permanent. Is the gap between himself in the 26 Mercedes from Lucas Motorsport and the 84 Mercedes getting larger? It might well be, but here comes the flying Corvette, yesterday's winning car. Jules Gounon will be making his father Jean-Marc very proud indeed as he caught this fighting duo. Certainly they would have helped him by battling away so furiously between themselves, but what we've seen time and again is just how quick this Corvette is in a straight line. It's not the most modern car anymore. It's had many years of racing under its belt, but nothing can really live with the punch it has from its 6.4 litre massive V8 that fires it up the straights. 6.245, 600 Pferd Starker to be enjoyed, and the way that certainly Lucas Auer's Mercedes seemed to punch its way up the start-finish straight. I'd say that Patrick Assenheimer was fleetingly second in that 84 Mercedes. He's been slightly circumspect. He's left just a few opportunities for Lucas Auer to consider having a go, and Lucas doesn't need asking twice, and so he has made those moves. Maxi Goetz, well, he's keeping a smile on his face, but where to look next? But certainly might actually be safer with Lucas Auer ahead of him, or ahead of his car. And now it looks though a podium position could be starting to slide away from Maxi Goetz and all his fans, because the 84 Mercedes in third place has got Jules Gounon right behind. Has Gounon got the speed to punch out of the first corner, to rise up the hill? Out of OMV curve they come. It's not a straight piece of track. It swerves to the right and then here to the left. But one thing is for sure, that Lucas Auer, having got up into second place, is able to stretch away. And now let's watch, I reckon, over the next lap and a half, what we can see from Jules Gounon. He managed to catch them up, the two Mercedes, when they were fighting. But now they're not fighting. They're running at the sort of speed they ought to be able to run. But Patrick Assenheimer has left a fair bit of inside line for the other drivers to take a look at. And in fact, Patrick should really understand the pace of the Callaway Corvette, because he drove one last year. Finished 10th in the GT Masters last year in a Callaway Corvette, and now he's being attacked by one, and one being driven very well indeed. The winning car from yesterday afternoon, Jules Gounon, really going absolutely great guns behind, but all along, slightly blocked by the Attempto Lamborghini, the second place Mercedes. Lucas Auer will be able to stretch further clear, but for now he's got to go past the Lamborghini that just came in for a drive-through penalty for violation of Article 39.1, if you need to know. And now it's the turn of Assenheimer and Gounon to be slightly delayed by the Lamborghini. Now what are we seeing here? Finally attack from the Koos Porsche. Very gentlemanly stayed out of the way. The attack from the 48 Mercedes. That's Indy Duncher, Dutch racer, down the inside he went. And the 99 Porsche also on the move, working its way forward with Robert Renauer at the wheel. Haven't seen the race leader for a while. He's 11 seconds clear now, Rolf Eichen. It was 10 and a bit. Oh, and then Gunon gets it wrong at the top of the hill. And is he going to slot back into 4th place or 5th? I think he might still be safe in 4th, but only just, because now Ricky Collard's going, hello, I wasn't fighting with you, but I'm about to be now. The Attempto Lamborghini might be better being on the outside line, but he's taken the inside line, so no problem there for Gunon as he recovers. And then, unfortunately, for Ricky Collard Jr., he's blocked. Let's have a look. On the outside line, the marshal very wisely pulled his head back in. Fantastic bit of camera work there. He pulled his head back in as Gunon had tried the outside line. A little bit of a kink to the left, perhaps, from Patrick Assenheimer. And Gunon only just managed to get back on the circuit ahead of Ricky Collard. You can see the Corvette powering back onto the circuit from the left-hand side, and then immediately getting caught up with the tail of the Attempto Lamborghini up ahead. He went to the outside, and then Collard lost out a little bit when they got down to Rauch. But there is our race leader. There is Rolf Eichen. He was 11.002 seconds clear. But there's the visual. The pink Mercedes coming across the start-finish line. Lucas Lauer, I reckon he's going to start closing. Well, he has. He's taken 1.4 seconds off in the last lap alone. Assenheimer now running in clear air for the first time in 3rd place. Jules Gunon will have to do it all over again. Ricky Collard, 5th. 6th place held by the 21 crew. And it's Lucas Stoltz at the wheel now. Of course, they were right in the thick of the battling early on in their Zach Speed Mercedes, and making progress bit by bit. It's Ezequiel Perez-Companc in the 19 Lamborghini. But they've only advanced 2 positions on their starting position in this race. But that Lamborghini now coming under severe pressure from the MAN Filters Mercedes, a bright yellow one there with Indy Duncher on board. And then in behind, number 17, with Mathieu Jaminet. That car's just lost its form this weekend. It won the opening race of the series. It's the Kuss liveried one, and in behind is Robert Renauer. So 2 Porsches in a row completing the top 10 runners. But plenty of battling still to be done. Less than a quarter of an hour remaining. And Perez-Companc coming under a huge amount of pressure there from Indy Duncher. You sort of feel the Dutch racer is on a charge, will be able to pick him off. But now Mathieu Jaminet tucking in on his tail in the number 17 Porsche. So if anything, I don't think we're going to see Perez-Companc advancing. I think we're going to see him having to drive using his mirrors very, very intensely. He's holding down 7th place. He's 7.5 seconds down on Lucas Stoltz, so he's not going to gain positions, but he could very easily lose them. He's hunted down by the Mercedes, bright yellow Mercedes number 48, and then those 2 Porsches. No wonder the fans in the grandstand are enjoying this action as the cars come up the hill, brake heavily for the first corner. Clouting the curb on the inside is the yellow Mercedes, running wide over the curbs on the outside, and will have a slower exit to the first corner. We've got a car in the pits. It's the number 24 Audi that have been started by Marcus Finkelhock. It's Philip Salicada at the wheel. Why is he in the pit lane? Looking for messages. Drive-through penalty. Car number 24 failed to manage track limits. We saw the warning on the screen. And now we're about to have the place change. The Mercedes has got ahead of the Lamborghini. Perez-Companc is now going to have to defend because, another place change in behind, because the 99 Porsche with Robert Renauer has got, up the inside of the 17 Porsche. Mathieu Jaminet doesn't want to cede position, and doesn't cede position. I can't believe he didn't do so, but Robert Renauer will have to do it all over again. It's a great little battle, 7th down to 10th place, but we have had that change. Indy Doncher, he will have 0.7 on his windscreen when he gets to the start-finish line. He started the lap in 8th. The HTP Motorsport Mercedes is now 7th. Now, can Perez-Companc hold on? Because, seriously, Mathieu Jaminet behind, a fellow winner in the ADAC GT Series this year, and Robert Renauer, also a winner. These are all winners already in the first 5 races of this championship. As we've said, 5 different winners so far this season. And to show how competitive is that 3 of them are fighting over 8th place at the moment. Meanwhile, out front, the other bright green Lamborghini leading the way, 8.9 seconds. It's coming down bit by bit. Only 12 minutes remaining, however, so that could be good enough for the race-leading Lamborghini. And just checking other messages on screen, 03 being warned for exceeding track limits. That's Marcus Pommer. And number 18 as well. That is Adrian Delina, who took over from Christopher Friedrich. And Jules Gounon continues the attack, seeing what he can do about Patrick Assenheimer. If Patrick can hold on and get a place on the podium, he'll have done a very good job. He'll have had quite a workout. He was obviously attacked, assaulted and passed by Lucas Auer, and he's been attacked and assaulted, but still holding off the charging Jules Gounon. And of course we've had Philippe Eng in that mix as well. Now it's Ricky Collard, who seems to be losing a bit of ground. He's fifth. Yeah, he lost about a third of a second last time around. Just can't quite live with the pace of that Corvette up ahead. You can see the BMW in the background as they approach the Rindt curve. Assenheimer quite twitchy as he tries to line up the corner, the final corner of the lap, and it's all about getting great exit speed, the long run, not just past the pits, but up the slope into the first corner, the corner that's now called the OMV curve, but many of us older people think of it still as sort of the approach to Hellerlicht, as it was in the old Österreich-Ring days. A lot of cars rattling over the curb on the exit. Nice smooth running up the hill for Lucas Auer. He is bringing the gap down between himself and the race-leading car, but only by hundredths of a second here and there. The real racing is behind. It is Jules Gounon, determined to get on the podium for the second day running. This time he gets it all right as they go up the hill and through the Remus curve. Maxi Goertz not sure he really wants to watch it all, because Patrick Assenheimer, his teammate in that 84 Mercedes, is having to work so super hard to hold on to third place. Half a gap up the inside, but looking to the outside this time and ready to try and tuck back round for a tighter exit, wider entry, tighter exit. That's the theory for Jules Gounon, but Patrick Assenheimer's seen it before, knows where to place that 84 HTP Motorsport Mercedes. And just suddenly looking down the order, Lucas Stoltz is now starting to close in on Ricky Collard in the battle for 6th place. Luca in the Zack Speed Mercedes, number 21, one of those mobile livery cars. There is Jules Gounon. Not close enough this time at Rindt curve to take a charge. Looks, if anything, as though Ricky Collard's closed in very slightly, but no, perhaps not. It was a foreshortening effect, the long angle as we look down the track at the Rindt curve. But certainly Gounon is close enough to get a tow as they go past the pits from Patrick Assenheimer in the 3rd place Mercedes. Both pretty equal through the first corner. Ricky Collard equally wide, half the car over the curbing on the exit of the corner. But the Corvette just has that little bit more punch. And the second part of the climb to Remus, again he closes in. This is the point where he had to jink wide and went off the circuit when he made a move up towards the outside of Assenheimer. Assenheimer had it covered this time, and Gounon didn't make the dive, because certainly it won't have helped his tyres, getting out over all the dusty curbing on the outside and the runoff area. He's going to take a look around the outside into Rauch curve, but again and again. Now, this time at Rauch, Assenheimer clouted the curb on the inside, would have cost him a bit of a momentum. The Corvette's accelerating, but he's on the wrong line. You need to be on the other side of the car. He's going to go high and try and tuck and duck, if you will, underneath. But Assenheimer is really driving very well in this defensive race. Black and white warning flag for another runner out there. It's Norbert Siedler, but hey, he's on home ground. He is down in 15th place, but suddenly he's gone up a position because of Precott Porsche, which was running in 10th place, Robert Renauer. It's an awful weekend for them. They should have had a good result yesterday, had a drive-through penalty and ended up out of the points. Ended up, in fact, in 12th place overall, and no finish for them today. I don't know why that's pulled to the side of the circuit. So for everybody 10th backwards, they will pick up a position. Indicator flashing on the 6th place. Lucas Stoltz, driven Zack Speed Mercedes. No need for lights to be flashing on the pink Mercedes up ahead of them, running in 2nd place, because Lucas Auer, he is gaining little by little. A 10th here, a 10th there on race leader Rolfrin Eichen. But we have 7.5 minutes remaining, and he's 8.6 seconds down, so it's not going to happen. It's going to be a great result if he can complete it and come home in 2nd place, get up onto the podium. Right now, it's looking as though it's going to be a Lamborghini victory just up the hill from where they're based. Grasser Racing Team just down the slope in Nittelfeld. But this is the battle that will probably either come to blows in the next couple of minutes, or will go the whole way to the finish. And getting closer and closer, Jules Gounon does have the speed to go past, just can't find any space on the circuit. 9 turns around the 4.236 kilometres of the Red Bull Ring, and they come very quickly after each other. And it's very hard. You can get on the one side on one corner, but it's hard to get onto the other side for the next corner, particularly now Assenheimer really has got the hang of holding on. And in fact, the cavalry is coming to the rescue. The BMW is closing in. Ricky Collard has almost caught them as they fight. And if he can do that, that will release the pressure from Assenheimer. That will put a smile back on Maxi Götz's face and certainly aid the chances of the 84 HTP Motorsport Mercedes getting a top 3 finish. Little mistake there from Gunnar, running out over the curbs at the final corner. That would have cost him a bit of momentum. That would also have allowed Collard to close in, and Collard is within half a second of that 4th place Callaway Corvette. First to second, in fact, it came down by very nearly 0.8 of a second last time around. 7.7 seconds is the gap, 7.6 further around the lap. So we can see that Lucas Auer is getting closer and closer to the race leader, but the clock is going to count against him. 6 minutes remaining in the 6th ADAC GT Masters race of 2017. They've all proved to be absolute crackers. You know what? It's looking as though we're going to get the 6th different winning car. The sister car of Bortolotti and Perez Companc tasted victory in the 2nd race at Lausitzring, the 4th race effectively of the 2017 series. But the sister car, number 63 from GRT Grasser Racing Team, with the driver who started, Christian Engelhardt, and Rolf Eichen, who looks like he's going to be bringing it home to the finish. They will be the 6th different winners in 6 rounds, showing just how competitive this championship can be. And you know what, looking at Jules Gounon, he's tried just about everything to get 3rd place from Patrick Assenheimer in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes. I don't think he's used all of his tricks as yet, but he's lost about 2 or 3 car lengths, and we saw him last time onto the start-finish straight. He was a bit sloppy out over the curbs on that final corner. This time it was rather better, so I expect he'll ease a little bit closer when he lost a bit of ground, but he had better acceleration. Now he's going to be closer this time around. He's also got just a tiny bit of breathing space, almost a second back to Ricky Collard. Yes, you can see there's a bit of a gap. There is the Mercedes in 3rd, then the Corvette in 4th, then the BMW in 5th. Got a Lamborghini in the lead, so just to show how competitive it all is, we've got 4 different makes of cars in the top 5. There is the one that's leading, 4.5 minutes remaining until the checkered flag can be proffered. Just gone past the Senkia Motorsport BMW. 2nd place is the pink Mercedes. This is the battle for 3rd place. This is the battle that ought to rage all the way to the checkered flag. Callaway Corvette still in 4th place overall. All this action is being watched by Ricky Collard. He had been closer. He needs to close back up, because if they have a little clash, a little bit of sliding wide, he's got to be closer if he intends to profit from their little slip up. But I must say, Patrick Assenheimer in 3rd place, just a couple of moments he's left the door semi-ajar, and there have been attempts to go past, but for now, all is good. He's been very defensive and very clean. Looks like he's got the answers to every question asked by Jules Gounon, but maybe Jules is keeping a super special question to ask on the final lap of the race. Race leader goes on to another lap. Rolf Eichen, 7.3 seconds clear. Yes, he's losing a few tenths over several laps, but it matters not. 2nd place will be a great result for Lucas Auer, sharing with Sebastian Asch. For those that you don't know, there's a family connection with the Grand Prix winner, because his uncle is none other than Gerhard Berger. Gerhard will approve of this run. Obviously, with his long-time connection with BMW, Gerhard would prefer that Lucas was in a BMW here, but on home ground in Austria, putting up a great performance in the Muka Motorsport Mercedes. Unusually, the team runs 1 Mercedes and 2 Audis. You don't often get a top team like this running several manufacturers, but dipping their toe in the water and doing a great job in the ADAC GT Masters Championship. And just a measure of intent, the fastest opening sector of any lap in this race has just been set by the driver in 4th, Jules Gounon, but he's proved before he can get very close indeed to Patrick Assenheimer. But will that be enough to gain him an advantage? Will he be able to make a move? Now, the 2nd sector of the circuit, he lost out what he gained in the 1st, so it's all equal in that battle for 3rd place. Lucas Auer running completely on his own, as is the race leader. He's got 5.5 seconds behind him, back to the 3rd place battle, back to Patrick Assenheimer and Jules Gounon. But in turn, he's 7.3 seconds clear. It's now 6.6, a better lap there from Auer. Yes, he's got to get past that BMW, but with 2 minutes on the clock has gone against him. And second place will be his, barring disasters, but not likely to be challenged from behind. And still Gunon in fourth place, still can't do anything about Patrick Assenheimer. So it's Lamborghini, Mercedes, Mercedes. Yesterday it was Corvette, and then BMW. So loads of variety in the ADAC GT Masters Championship. And the BMW, the best place, well, there are two of them in the field, and the one in fifth place is the one at the back of that shot. Collard able to get close to Gunon, Gunon even closer to Assenheimer, but just not being given the opportunity to go past. Tries to take the wide entry, the tight exit. Assenheimer slightly cautious on the dive down to the final corner. And certainly the way he's been bombed, sorry, not the final corner, that's coming out of Rauch. The way he was bombed on the exit of the corner just showed how that Corvette's got the pace. It just can't find the track position. Car number 6 now being given a warning for exceeding track limits. That's Christian Zanella. Christopher Zanella, sort of one of the two HB Racing Lamborghinis, so he's matched the feet of one of his teammates. Into the final minute. Patrick Assenheimer, well, he will have earned a drink if he can complete this race in third position. Wasn't able to resist Lucas Auer when Lucas was at his most persuasive, and Auer's pulled well clear in second place, but with 31 seconds remaining on the clock, the battle third, fourth, fifth and sixth, because we have to include Lucas Stoltz, who's just off the back of this grouping. The clock is ticking. Will we have another dive up the outside on this lap? Well, he has gone for the outside, Jules Gunon, but we've seen this before. He runs out of road on the exit, and of course, fully within his rights, Patrick Assenheimer can move across the top of the circuit, complete his turning into the corner. I suspect the move is, well, you'd think it might come to the outside, but giving an impression of going for the inside as they get to Rauch curve, and then diving at the last minute round the outside. The nose is ahead for the Corvette. From the Callaway crew, he's going to be over the curves. He's got to keep his foot in. The French driver has kept his foot in. Now he's on the right line, so he's pulled off the movement, or has he? Will he be ahead as they go into the Pirelli curve? Yes, he has. That was a beautiful, beautiful move. A very late dive to the outside. Was he too quick into the Pirelli curve? Oh, Assenheimer, all that patient defending, and then he was monstered around the outside. Car 19 being pinged. Another black and white warning flag, but it's, in fact, that's Perez Companc in 8th place overall, but Corvette will be getting 2 podiums over the course of a weekend, because Jules Gunon, the patience, the attempted attacks. Oh, Maxi Götz, you've got a feel for him. It looked as though Assenheimer had the answers to everything that was being thrown at him. So on to the final lap we go. In second place, Lucas Auer. Now the new third place runner is Jules Gunon. Assenheimer, has he got anything left to throw back? He was the one doing the defending. Can he attack? And will Ricky Collard try and make a move on him as well? Sometimes a driver can get a little bit rattled after they've been passed, particularly after they've defended for so long. And in the background, Lucas Stoltz is getting closer and closer in 6th place. I think at this point, with half the final lap to go, we can put down the number of the winning car as 63, except unless something extraordinary happens. 6.1 seconds clear of Lucas Auer. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th almost covered by, I'd say, about 2 seconds, the 4 of them. And importantly for the Callaway Corvette team, yesterday's winners, they're going to have 2 podiums for them. Down to Rauch at the final time. Assenheimer not close enough to make a move, and in turn Collard likewise not able to attack the Mercedes driver. Down they go, so Gunon with a lap and a half to go made that move stick with the brave dive. Looked like he's going inside, then dive to the outside for the Rauch curve. But here is our race leader, down to Rindt curve for the final time. There to greet him, I'm sure, on the pit wall will be Christian Engelhardt, who started the race, but Rolf Eichen sweeping through the final corner for the last time. The checkered flag will come out on the right-hand side on the pit wall. There it is, wave. So 63 takes victory. He can back off. He does back off. It will still be probably 5 seconds clear of the rumbling Mercedes of that driver, Lucas Auer. He'll be pleased with that on home ground. Would have loved to win. 3.5 seconds in the end. That shows how much it backed off. Gunon did take that 3rd place, Assenheimer 4th, Collard 5th, and trying his best to catch them was Lucas Stoltz. So Lamborghini, Mercedes, Corvette, that was the finishing order. Top 10 not yet completed. Indy Dontje in 7th, Perez Companc in 8th, Mathieu Jaminet in 9th, and Mike David Ortmann in the number 25. Muka Motorsport Audi up into 10th position at the end of the race. Well, what a race. Very impressive from the pole-starting Lamborghini, but all the action was in behind, and it kept us entertained. I can't believe we've had an hour of racing action. Seemed to be over in about the blink of an eye. And now our race leader appears stationary out on the circuit. So we'll give you more about that. There I was busy looking at the timing screens, and our race leader has stopped out. Not race leader, our race winner has stopped out on the track. Can't see anything that's wrong. Has he run out of fuel? Well, we get accustomed to cars slowing on their in-lap, but sometimes drivers just savouring the moment. But maybe he did that and has just stalled. But the 63 race-winning Lamborghini from the GRT Grasser Racing team, with Rolf Eichen at the wheel, is needing a tow to get it home. More to the point, with Rolf Eichen not at the wheel. He's pulled up just behind the 99 Porsche that had stopped with a handful of laps to go. So a double bad time. As Rolf Eichen looks like he's going to walk home now. His car. Trying to work out where that is, but it was a really, really strong race for the GRT Grasser Racing team. In fact, it's still on, of course, the driver is still on board. That's the driver of the 99 Porsche. So that looked as though it came to a halt. That's cut through after the exit of turn one, somewhere on the climb up towards the Ramus curve, and is being brought the short way home because the 99 Porsche had stopped on the downhill slope out of the Pirelli curve. So Christian Engelhardt waiting for his friend and co-driver to come back. There's the second place car with Lucas Auer in at the wheel. Started by Sebastian Asch, finished by Lucas Auer. But for Christian Engelhardt, he won't be looking at the big screens. He won't know where his car is. So Jules Gounon brings the third place Callaway Corvette home to the finish, and will be greeted by Daniel Kalvitz, who was so positive in the opening laps, but still waiting for the race-winning car to be brought back in. So I think we can safely say that Lucas Auer, the driver just throwing the belts back into that 26 Mercedes, has thoroughly enjoyed his time in the GT Masters Championship and brought some more attention to what is a fantastic series. We saw how competitive it is. Handful of cars limping their way back in. There's the twin Busch Motorsport Audi, yellow and blue. And the other cars bunching up, just waiting to turn in to pit entry into the pit lane. Yeah, so they're back in the entry to the pit lane. We can see where the winning cars should be gathered, just under the Kircher banner in the background. But the race winner still needs to get there, as those that didn't finish in the top positions are flagged behind the pit buildings into the paddock. And for the number 3 crew, they had a drive-through penalty, but it was to be served late in the race. They're having time penalty added to them. That was Marcus Pommer and Kelvin van der Linde. They will have 30 seconds added to their finish time, which takes them out of the top 10. In fact, they were out of the top 10 already. So the unusual sight of a rescue vehicle bringing the race-winning car to the finish. Not entirely sure what the rules are without sight of them right now about not getting back to Parc Fermé under your own power. There may be a reason for it, but right now it was a fantastic drive from pole position from Christian Engelhardt. And Rolf Eichen, yes, he did lose a little bit of ground to Lucas Auer, who was giving chase in the Muka Mercedes, but he didn't need to press on hard because, of course, he had that big advantage. It was about 11 seconds when he took over. And there we are, walking in. Handful of drivers. Rolf Eichen, arms in the air, happy with life. And now Christian Engelhardt says, "Where are you, my friend? What has been going on? We lost you, we lost the car." But victory to the 63 Lamborghini crew. Lucas Auer smiling for the cameras with Sebastian Asch. And job very well done. Of course, he's the DTM Championship leader. There's Roland Asch, Sebastian's father, long-time German touring car racer. Very pleased with the new team member who's come in and made a huge splash And yeah, a lot of applause down in the pit lane. But it's been a wonderful weekend's racing so far. Still more races to run here. This wonderful ADAC GT Masters dominated meeting. And the weather conditions could not have been kinder. Daniel Kalvitz and Jules Gounon will be pleased with life as well. And there's Rolf Eichen. Pirelli winner's cap on. Now the double thumbs up. Must have had a heart-in-mouth moment when the car came to a halt after the finish line. Lost 3 seconds on the final lap, but all he had to do was cruise in. He was 6.5 seconds clear with a lap to go. Backed off to wave to the crew on the pit wall as he took victory. Christian Engelhardt's had half an hour or so to cool down, having done the first part of the race. It's always a strange thing, isn't it? You start the race, you have all the pressure at the start, all the build-up, and then you've got half an hour to relax or thereabouts until your teammate brings the car home. You hope they don't drop it or clip anything or go off, and certainly in racing, as competitive as the ADAC GT Masters, there's always the possibility of that. And you had to feel for Maxi Götz sitting in the pit garage at HTP Motorsport, hoping and praying that Patrick Assenheimer could keep their car, the number 84 Mercedes, on the podium. And with a lap and a half to go, it proved they couldn't. Because, of course, Jules Gounon brought the Callaway Corvette up into that final third position. And now a bright, colourful scene down by the cars, lined up in Parc Fermé. A few quick interviews, photographs in front of the sponsors' logos. There's a board just in front of the wall of the pit building, and then the drivers will be plucked away from there after the photos have been taken, and up a flight of stairs to the back of the podium. There are the drivers. Much taller figure of Rolf Eichen next to Lucas Auer, who's clearly not taken so much after Gerhard's Berger's side of the family. Gerhard's side has the height. So for the 28 runners, that was a great race. Almost all of them made it to the finish and provided a huge amount of action. Sometimes quite hard to know where to look, but there were some brilliant cameo performances. Some really good overtaking from Daniel Kalvitz in the first part of the race in yesterday's winning car. But here we are, 6 races into the championship, and we have already 6 different winning combinations. The next time they will go out to play, just over a month's time, month and a half time, 21st to 23rd of July at the Circuit Park Zandvoort. And if they have weather like that in the Netherlands in the middle of July, that will be one amazing place to be on the seaside circuit there among the dunes. But right now, I can't think of a more spectacular circuit to be sitting at than the Red Bull Ring in the summer sunshine. Cameras, trophy presenters starting to assemble up on the podium, so the podium ceremony cannot be that far away. It's been a really enthralling weekend of action. The 2 races have provided loads of interest here at the Red Bull Ring. There was a 14-point advantage for Gounon and Kalvitz before this race. It should have been stretched over those immediately behind them, but obviously that win for Engelhardt and Eichen will start to propel them up the championship. But they did need propelling because they were down in 14th place before this race, but that should bounce them up probably quite a handful of positions, probably to about 6th or 7th, I would think. And the top crews coming out for a few quick photos before they're announced to come out onto the podium. But it's been a fantastic weekend of racing for the ADAC GT Masters here at the Red Bull Ring, moving around, largely around Germany, with a round or so abroad, but obviously 2 rounds abroad, this one and the next one at Zandvoort. But Oschersleben, then Lausitz-Ring were the first 2 venues, and we upped the topography and the beauty factor to come here to the Red Bull Ring. And there are the finishing positions. 3.5 seconds clear at the end of Lucas Auer. Jules Gounon tried his hardest, and it paid off as he parked Patrick Assenheimer for 3rd place. Ricky Collard could do nothing beyond getting up to 5th, but 1 minute covers the top 16 runners, and that's with Salakada and Winkelhock having had a drive-through penalty as well. So very competitive. Look at that blue sky over the Red Bull Ring. It's been absolutely fantastic. And there is the advantage. 19 points clear of Collard and Eng are Gounon and Kalvitz. It's been a great weekend. 1st and 3rd place really augmenting their championship hopes. Sven Muller and Robert Renauer, they came here with high hopes, and they've left absolutely empty-handed. Still stays 3rd in the championship, but this was a big knock for the Precker Herbert Porsche duo. They'll have to do it all over again, but one of the things in a championship as competitive as the GT Masters is you need to score at every round to stand a chance of victory. And the 2 races in Austria were very cruel indeed for Muller and Renauer. And with so much focus on the home drivers here, and quite rightly so at the Red Bull Ring, just waiting for a TV interview on the podium with Lucas Hour to be completed, and then I think we'll have our top 3 runners. Once that's beamed up through the satellite, we'll have that podium ceremony kicking off ASAP. So Sarah Valentina Winkhaus, the presenter for the GT Masters Championship, just completing that interview on the podium in the glorious afternoon sunshine. Now Lucas can go to the back and then he can come out onto the podium all over again, and I'm sure he had plenty of great things to say down there to Sarah Valentina. So some great racing, some very clean racing, I'm delighted to report. It's been a really, really good weekend for the ADAC GT Masters, and now finally the podium ceremony is about to be underway. Blast of noise down below, the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland about to kick off, but here come our race-winning duo, Rolf Eichen leading the way out in the black overalls, and will be followed by Christian Engelhardt any second now. Christian appears to have got lost, hasn't yet come out. You can see the GRT Grasser racing influence at the background, the bright green boots for Rolf Eichen, but the second place crew, Lucas Auer coming out, the shorter figure at the front, and Sebastian Asch, they worked really, really hard. Sebastian was great in the opening stint, and then Lucas moved from 3rd up to 2nd. Very popular result here on the home patch in Austria. And 3rd place to Daniel Kravitz and Jules Gounon. Both of them, Daniel Kravitz deserves applause for his overtaking in the first pass of the race. And then Jules saved it to a lap and a half in the finish to bag that 3rd place. So for Gottfried Grasser called out onto the podium on home ground, or one of his crew, can't see yet, that's Gottfried. Yep, he'll be very happy with that. So lots of applause, the Austrian national anthem for the winning team. And just to let you know where Christian Engelhardt is, of course, he's down on the grid or approaching the grid. He's in the pit lane waiting to go out. He's competing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland race. So he's a bit busy. Can't join Rolf Eichen up on the podium, but he knows they took the victory. He's got a lot to do. He's starting from the 10th row. There's a 5-place grid penalty for a little incident in the previous race. But for now, he knows the win's in the bag. He can't collect his trophy. He's busy, but certainly a huge amount of applause to the BWT Mucker team for their 2nd place with Austrian racer Lucas Auer at the wheel. Kravitz and Gounon, they've got the gold bulls, now they've got the bronze bulls. Victory yesterday, 3rd place today. And a big clock for the wall, Philip Ritter presenting, and another trophy in what's proving to be an amazing year for the GRT Grasser racing team, based just down the slope in Nittelfeld, but they're winning all around Europe at the moment in their Lamborghinis. So just to reiterate, we arrived at the Red Bull Ring, 4 races in the ADAC GT Masters, 4 different winners. After yesterday, we had 5 different winners, and after this afternoon's race, that's the 6th combination and victory to Rolf Eichen and Christian Engelhardt, and general mayhem up on the podium. I think for a lot of the drivers, they couldn't let rip too much yesterday, but particularly for Gunon and Karvitz. Third place today, but that's been a really strong championship weekend for them, and now 19 points clear for the Callaway Corvette crew. They have got the most to celebrate, but Lucas Auer on the right of the podium, I think he's enjoyed a weekend away from the DTM, a weekend racing at home in Austria, and a weekend that has produced two very strong results. Fourth place yesterday and second place today. That's all from me, Bruce Jones. Thoroughly enjoyed joining you for the ADAC GT Masters. We'll be back again later this year, but it's been fantastic fun from the Red Bull Ring. Brilliant, brilliant racing, wonderful cars, and what scenery we have.